Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our famous Idaho Potato Bowl game preview between the Toledo Rockets and the Utah State Aggies. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Toledo.
Let's look at Toledo in this ball game, and I'm a big fan of their linebackers. Dan Moles, who I think is a solid pro prospect, and also Robert Bell, the two inside linebackers, do a great job of keeping things boxed in. They struggle in the secondary, but I think it's all due to the fact that they don't get the pressure from their defensive line. They have to apply pressure versus Utah State. And they've played a team like this before. They played Arizona. They played Cincinnati, in which they won. And they also played Northern Illinois with an outstanding quarterback. So they are used to playing explosive offenses. And if the linebackers come to play, if the defensive line can get pressure, then a lot will go right for Toledo in their defense. Now, offensively, you look at Austin Danton, had a great game his last outing, his first start since the beginning of the season. And I think he's going to get the start in this matchup. He should get the start. He protects the football. Very accurate passer, and that's what they need. Right now, we know they can run the football with the best of them. They have one of the best running backs in the country in David Fluellen, but can they consistently put the ball in the air with accuracy? That's going to be the biggest question this week for Toledo. Now let's move over to Utah State in this ball game. And one thing about their offense, they're explosive, and they're led by their outstanding quarterback, Chucky Keaton. One thing that I like most about this guy is not only is he a mobile guy, can do damage on the ground, but also has the whip for an arm that can throw passes accurately down the field. And you look at his number one target, Matt Austin. Look for this guy to have a lot of opportunities downfield versus that suspect Toledo secondary. If they're going to win this game, they're going to have to do it through the air because Toledo has some outstanding linebackers. Now, speaking of linebackers, you look at the defensive side of the football for Utah State. Zach Vigil is one of those guys that just comes to work each and every day and does a great job of applying pressure. This entire defense applies pressure, 39 sacks on the season, which is why they have talent in the secondary to make plays on the ball. If those guys can make Toledo one-dimensional, it could go a long way in helping that secondary be effective versus the passing game. Cornerback Will Davis is one guy you should look out for in this ball game. Does a great job of running with receivers, turning his head and finding the football, and shows solid coverage skills. And David Fluellen, although he's a junior, maybe not for this year, but for next year, this is a guy you want to keep an eye on. 6 feet, 215 pounds. He can finish runs, but what's very good about his game in today's National Football League is the fact that he can catch the football out of the backfield. The late, great Merlin Olsen of the Fearsome Foursome for the Los Angeles Rams is my campus legend. This guy played from 59 to 61, was a consensus All-American, and also finished 10th in the Heisman voting in 1961. Very good player, dominant guy up front. And with Sean Tate, one of those guys that you really don't know about, but was an outstanding player. Played from 93 to 98. He had that year off with the injury, got the year back. But 1995 was his claim to fame when he rushed for over 1,900 yards at 5.3 yards a carry. I like the Aggies in this ball game. The question I had about Utah State throughout the course of the season was, can that secondary hold up? And they got a good test versus La Tech. They actually dominated that ball game until it started to become a shootout late. But this is a team that's very stout defensively. I think they will put the clamps on that Toledo Rocket running game and force Danton to beat them through the air. And we already know about the Aggies' explosive offense. So I have the Aggies with quarterback Chucky Keaton leading these guys to victory in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.